truly an honor for me to introduce our guest speaker. We are fortunate to have with us today retired Major General Dr. David Hamlar Jr. and his wife June. Now, if I were to read all of General Hamlar's accomplishments and accolades, we would be here until Wednesday. So my apologies, sir, but I'm just going to give a brief summary here. General Hamlar was born in Columbus, Ohio, where in high school he focused on academics and excelled in athletics. These talents would lead him to Tufts University, where he played football, ran indoor track, and played baseball while obtaining a degree in biology. He attended dental school at Howard University in Washington, D.C., aided by a scholarship from the National Health Service Corps. As a commissioned officer, he fulfilled a 3-year commitment at various locations. He then returned to school at the Ohio State University College of Medicine, where he completed his residency in ENT and head and neck surgery. And again, thank you, General, because he told me I didn't have to try and use the real medical terms for any of this. It was during medical school that he joined the Ohio National Guard. A fellowship in facial plastics and reconstructive surgery brought him to the University of Minnesota and would lead to his transfer to the Minnesota Air National Guard. General Hamlar has held many positions during his military career, to include commander of the 133rd Medical Group, state air surgeon, and assistant adjutant general. He has served in support of Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and numerous humanitarian efforts around the world. General Hamlar's talents were utilized to better the lives of our wounded men and women in uniform, and to save the lives of those who are willing to lay theirs down for our country. Now retired from the military, Dr. Hamlar's practice is based at Health Partners Regions Hospital. His university practice includes training medical students and residents, as well as administrative responsibilities on the admissions committee. He continues to participate in humanitarian missions across the globe and is the team physician for the Minnesota Wild and medical consultant for the Minnesota Vikings and Minnesota Timberwolves. It is now my privilege to welcome retired Major General Dr. David Hamlar Jr.
Thanks, Eric. You know how important a person is if you see the number of cracks in their cell phone. I want to thank Charles Kapsner, who introduced me to the community up here. Of course, I've come up here to drill in the past, but he's doing a wonderful job with the paintings. And if you haven't seen it in the hall, in Committal Hall, you should go by there. Anyway, thanks, Bill, for your emceeing. It's truly an honor to be invited to come here today. Congressman Stauber, distinguished guests, service members, families, friends, ladies and gentlemen, and of course our veterans. Before I begin my prepared remarks, I want to share my personal experience. I deployed 6 times, and for that, I was able to take care of our heroes. Many of you know about the golden hour. In emergency room response, we say if we can get someone there during that golden hour, we can save them. But in the military, it became the golden 2 minutes. Today, we train combat lifesavers where their injuries are stabilized right in the battlefield. If they reach a FAST, which is a forward surgical team, an EMEDS, which is expeditionary medical, or a CASH, which is a combat surgical hospital, we have greater than a 98% chance of saving them. Unfortunately, I've been on the other end of the 2%. Those are the hardest days of my life, and you never forget them. Just today, I met a Gold Star mother. LaDonna, where are you? Are you out here? But LaDonna lost her son, Jacob Finkston, and we talked about that today. And that's why we're here today. Welcome to today's ceremony, and thank you for attending. I'm honored to be speaking with you today on such an important occasion. We're here today to honor our service members, to remember the sacrifices they've made. As we sit in this beautiful place, I want to reflect on why cemeteries like this came to be. Originally created to honor Union soldiers killed during the Civil War, national cemeteries became national memorials to all of our veterans. About a dozen national cemeteries and numerous soldiers' lots were established in 1862. By 1870, almost 300,000 Union soldiers and sailors lay buried in 73 national cemeteries. Today, the nation has 175 national cemeteries, soldiers' lots, government lots, and Confederate cemeteries. We are here today at the Minnesota State Veterans Cemetery, otherwise known as Camp Ripley Cemetery. Many states have established state veteran cemeteries. Eligibility, of course, is being a resident of that state. I share this information with you not because of my own wanting to show you what I know, but because the desires of one of our own who's laid to rest right behind you, Section C, Grave 1, Plot 168647269. General John William Vesey's desire was to return home to Minnesota and lay beside his troops. He exemplifies all that was good about our servicemen and women who dedicated their lives in protecting our great nation. General Vesey was born June 9, 1922 in Minneapolis. He enlisted in the Minnesota National Guard at age 16 as a motorcycle rider before graduating high school. He was in the 34th ID during World War II in North Africa, was later sent to Germany and Korea. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for his defensive actions in Vietnam in March 1967. General Vesey became the 10th chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the senior ranking member of U.S. Armed Forces. He was appointed to that post by then President Reagan. General Vesey retired from the military in 1985, but continued to serve under Presidents Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and Clinton as a special emissary to Vietnam, where he led U.S. efforts to account for our military personnel missing in action. He received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, in 1992. He's buried right over there among his fellow state veterans. The Greek philosopher Thucydides once said, "The bravest are surely those who have the clearest vision of what's before them, glory and danger alike, and yet notwithstanding, go to meet it." We're here today to honor our heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and say thank you for their sacrifices. Thinking of our heroes who join us in this group today, and those who are here only in spirit, a person can't help but feel awed by the enormity of the encounter. We stand in the midst of patriots and family and friends of those who have nobly served. Those service members we honor today came from all walks of life, but they shared us several fundamental qualities. They possess courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity. All the qualities needed to serve a cause, as Congressman Stauber said, serve a cause larger than oneself. Many of them didn't ask to leave their homes to fight on distant battlefields. Many didn't even volunteer. They didn't go to war because they loved fighting. They were called to be part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extreme times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect the nation as us that gave them a shot. Since the first shots at Lexington and Concord were fired and our Revolutionary War began, American men and women have been answering the nation's call. Millions of Americans have fought and died on distant battlefields to defend our freedoms and way of life. Today, our troops continue to make ultimate sacrifices, and even as we lose troops, more Americans step forward and say, "I'm ready to serve." They follow in the footsteps of generations of fine Americans. The idea of Memorial Day, originally called Decoration Day, rose from the ashes of the Civil War. Following the Civil War, at least 620,000 Americans, both Union and Confederate, have been killed and hundreds maimed. Through the course of the war, Americans had blasted at each other's lines with cannons, burned cities and towns on our own soil. Americans had locked each other up in prisoner of war camps and torn up railroads that connected the North and South. Homes, schools, churches, from Antietam to Vicksburg were riddled with bullet holes. The war's unprecedented carnage and destruction was a scale not at that time imaginable. And it changed America's view of war forever. From those dark times, it was the families who were honoring their dead that began to bring the light of reconciliation. Although There are different versions of how Memorial Day began. One story goes that grieving families, both northern and southern, began decorating graves of their lost soldiers with flowers and wreaths. In one city, Mississippi, people decorated graves of both Union and Confederate troops out of the respective families of the Union soldiers, with the hope that someone would do the same for their lost loved ones in the North. These informal honors led to the first Memorial Day observation in Waterloo, New York on May 5th, 1866. Congress officially recognized Memorial Day as a federal holiday in 1887. Since then, with each passing year and subsequent conflicts, we've continued to honor our troops. We've awarded medals to many servicemen and women, added their names to monuments, named buildings for them to honor them for their bravery. But nothing ever can replace a family's emptiness of a fallen service member, and no number of medals or ribbons can comfort the ones left behind. I'd like to ask the service members, if you can, who are here today, to stand. Please stand, if you can. You've made our armed forces the most respected in the world. Please be seated. Now I'd like to ask the family member of any service member to stand. Those family members in the audience, please stand. We know you have lived through difficult times and often taken the heavy load to keep the home fires burning. Thank you for what you've done. Please be seated. Today, people throughout the country will gather to remember, to honor, and pay gratitude to those who have served our country. Our gathering is just one small spark in a flame of pride that burns across the nation today and every day. It's not a lot, but it's one small way we can honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifices so that we can live in freedom. Your presence here today and that of people gathering all across America is a tribute to those lost troops and their families. It's a way to say that we remember. From the service members who shivered and starved through the winter at Valley Forge, to the doughboys crouched in the muddy trenches of France, to the greatest generation who fought World War II, followed by that forgotten Korean War, to the platoon who patrolled the hazy jungles of Vietnam, and the young men and women thrown into the Gulf War, and those now patrolling the mountains of Afghanistan and the sands of Iraq. We remember and we honor them all. Memorial Day is a day we as a country come together to honor and remember our servicemen and women who answered America's call to service and paid the ultimate sacrifice. Memorial Day is a time for Americans as one body to stand up and say thank you. We remember you. We are grateful to you. Thank you for attending today. God bless you, your families. God bless our troops, and God bless America.